I'll give you the lineup, and then I'll tell you how it all started. So Wednesday was Bobcat Goldthwait. Thursday was Dana Gould. Friday was a guy named DJ Hazard, a local Boston guy.
I know what you're thinking. I look like a game show host from Nicaragua. That was his opening
I remember.
joke. It made no sense unless you were high. Everybody's like doing coke and smoking grass and popping ecstasy, and this big biker guy would walk out. Maddie, tell me if this makes any sense. You're just a non-participant observer here. Just a biker with a sleeveless shirt walks out and goes, I know what you're all thinking. I look like a game show host from Nicaragua.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck?
That's great.
It's hysterical. And he says it, and you just railed out of your face. You're drinking NyQuil to come back to Earth, and this monster walks out like this. He's the fucking, that red monster from Bugs Bunny, but with cut-off shirts.
One of my favorite jokes of his, when the Walkman came out, he said, oh, I love the Walkman, just came out. You can put it in your ears, you hear a little bit of jazz, a little bit of rock and roll, smooth, a lot of things you can't hear, like, look out. It was crazy. Saturday night was Lenny Clark, and Sunday was Anthony Clark, and I had Stephen Wright and Jonathan Katz, who created
this was
Dr.
every
Katz,
week for
Paula
like a year and a half.
Poundstone.
This was like...
Yeah, I made a mistake. Did I say, who did I say on Thursday? I was wrong. Dennis Leary hosted Thursday nights, and Dana Gould alternated sometimes with him. So
this is like a crazy...
It was a crazy lineup, and in Boston what would happen is comedians would host their own nights, and then people would stop by and do guest sets, and normally they didn't get paid, but the host got paid. And so it was just a great time. And
Barry Katz, Stephen Wright, thanks a lot.
Stephen and people got paid a very little amount of money, like $25 or $35 to host a show, maybe $25 a set. Stephen Wright was the highest paid comedian. He made $45 a set.
What year?
In 1980.
1980, I was masturbating into a sweat sock, and Stephen Wright's pulling $45 a night. That's some serious cake, B. Ooh, Colin Quinn showed up.
What are you gonna do, Stephen Wright? Katz is like, look, Stephen, I can't. Like, you're not gonna make me break a 50, are you? Come on, Stephen. Dude, when you give me $20, I'll give you the 50. We'll call it even. What are you gonna do? Look, I got Dennis Leary on the other side. He said he'd do it for 20.
And these people would do incredible amounts of time, and they had their own audiences, and it was just an amazing time.
Long story short, Barry Katz is a dyed-in-the-wool friend of the comics. Barry, you had questions you wanted to ask me that we never got to, and we almost didn't get to them this time either, unless you wanted to do a 4-hour podcast, and we'll break it up into 2 parts.
I have tons of questions.
But we both got to get home to our wives because they're hot, and we like to make love to them because we're squares.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
The first question I have for you is, what was the inspiration, the first thing that happened in your life where you said, I'd like to do stand-up comedy? And the part B to that question is, when did you know, the moment you knew, I'm never going to do anything else again in work but stand-up and this business?
I never had... Say the first part again? When did I know?
In other words, what was the moment that happened? You said, I want to do stand-up.
Okay. I didn't have a moment for a long time, but what happened was like I was alongside that moment, and I'll explain. I would always watch Star Search for the comedians. I would always watch Evening at the Improv. I would always watch, any comedian on television. I devoured it, and I got excited, and I would watch movies like Stripes. And somehow I memorized it, the entire movie, and everything Bill Murray said that was funny, or Meatballs. There was nothing got past my mind. It was like a steel trap, but just for stupid comedy.
For those of you who don't know, and Jay Mohr would never admit to this, he's got a photographic memory. So anything, any script, anything like that, any passage, any song, he knows everything, and he can memorize it instantly. So
as a child, I was memorizing Stripes and Apocalypse Now dialogue. I was an odd kid. But my parents were also odd because, they were alcoholics and they didn't want to find a babysitter. So they go, hey, come with us to see Apocalypse Now when you're 8. Nice. It's called negligent parenting now. Back then it's called rub some scotch on his gums. He's crying. So I would always watch stand-up, and I would stay up late because Rascals was a comedy club in West Orange, New Jersey, and they had a public access show where all they did was take like their weekend comedy show. If you go to an improv, like headliner, middle, and feature, and they put it on Channel 3 on like New Jersey, like TV3 or whatever it was, whatever the cable was in New Jersey at the time. So it came on like late, like 11 in the middle of the week, and I'd be tired for school the next day, but I never missed it. And huge acts, like Dice, like big, like
Dice,
everybody played
Chris
Rascals.
Rock,
It was
everybody.
a cash cow. You could make so much money. I learned later in life, like they just gave you the money. And I used to devour it. And I graduated from like Star Search to Evening at the Improv to watching Evening at Rascals. And then once, as I was watching Rascals Comedy Hour, is what it was called.
Yeah.
It said, hey, like one of those public access commercials with like a goofy font and like a stupid like cartoon fox for no reason. Like, hey, if you're a comedian between the ages of 13 and 18, Rascals Comedy Club in West Orange on Pleasant Valley Way is looking for the funniest teenage comedian in northern New Jersey. And the second they said that, I went, oh, that's why I've been watching comedy. Is because I'm going to try this. Like, I could do it. I know the rhythm. I know the routine. I know the math of it all. And it's really just math.
So you make the decision, but you have no jokes at this point.
Correct. Nothing. They said, I have stripes memorized, but that's like 2 hours. And some of the lines are John Larroquette's. They don't really play. Wash those muscles. Son, one of these days, one of these men might save your life. But then again, maybe one of us won't. So it says if you have between 3 to 5 minutes of material, I like how they give you that like 2-minute leeway. Like it's either 3, but you could stretch it out, man. You can stretch your wings, and if you just want to go up there and just chill out for like 5. So that night I couldn't sleep because I just start writing down the stupidest ideas in the world. I'm very athletic. I remember the jokes. and I was a bedwetter until I was like 13. It was a problem. And I said, I wet the bed, which I know isn't that big of a deal, but I used to do it from the top of my dresser. That was my second joke. The first joke I ever wrote was, I come from a big showbiz family. My mother is an actress. I don't know if you guys remember her, Chaka from Land of the Lost. Chaka, Tagumanda. And I would imitate Chaka like an idiot. And in hindsight, these actually aren't that bad.
Now, what number did you go on in the lineup?
I have no idea, and I'll tell you why in a second. And I'm very athletic. In high school, I'm captain of the miniature golf team. I missed all of last season with an injury. I was hit by a windmill. Like these are now we're getting terrible. And then I had a whole thing about tongs, like ice tongs. Like who uses ice? You can only get one thing of ice. Like just stick your hand in. It wasn't funny. Like, maybe I can make it work now, but I know now it's a wet bag of shit as far as the premise goes. Fucking, really? You're going to run out with that ice tongue chunk you got? Way to go. You got to see this new kid. He's got a whole thing about ice tongues. I mean, not since Bill Hicks talking about LSD and God have I seen something so prolific as the ice tongue chunk from this 15-year-old.
What was your big closer?
I don't remember. I don't think there was a big closer. I didn't know I knew you were supposed to end on a huge laugh, but to me, they were all the same level of, this should work. This should work. And that's always been my mentality. You know me, whether I'm pitching a TV show, whether I'm writing a book, whether I'm doing a podcast, whether I'm doing, if I cut a hip hop album, I'm always the guy that goes, well, why wouldn't this be a number one bestseller on the New York Times best-selling list? Why wouldn't this show be number one in the ratings? So that's why the podcast being number one floored me, because if you go in all the time thinking, well, this will be number one, like, of course it'll be number one, and it's not, you're always disappointed horribly and you're crushed because, Picture Perfect only made $40 million, and you go, how could it only make 40? I knew it was going to be a big hit. I'm in it. What's the problem? So, with my crazy, ridiculous self-esteem.
So you get off stage, what happens?
Here's the thing. It's at noon on a Sunday. I don't drive. My parents think I'm like smoking crack, and that didn't happen yet in my life. And they're like, what? Rascals? You're going to do what? So James Barone, who I later immortalized in the sketch Good Morning Brooklyn, the character's name was James Barone. Good morning, Brooklyn. How are ya, huh? He drives me because he's 16. He's styling and profiling. He's got the license. He comes with me, and I go in the Rascals look like, when there's just those banks. And Jersey is like really, it leads the league in these type. It's just like a one-room bank made out of brick. That was Rascals, but underneath there was like this magical 800-seat fire hazard of a room with one exit, and they just crammed mafia people in there, and they just it was a cash cow. It was the only gig in town, and they got Kinnison used to play there like once a month. So it's at noon. I go on stage, and I remember the second I hit the stage, I had the wherewithal to realize this is probably a worst case scenario. I'm 15 years old.
Are you nervous?
I'm wrestling. Yes, I'm very nervous. I'm wrestling at 115 pounds, I think. 115. I'm wrestling at 118 pounds. I'm a bag of bones. I go up on stage, and at that age, at 15 years old, I go, this is a worst case scenario. As I'm talking to them, I say to myself, this is a worst case scenario. The entire audience are other 13 to 17-year-old comedians and their parents or their James Barone. How hard can you possibly make people laugh that want what you're going in for? So I go and I do my 5-minute set in like a minute and a half. It was like speed dating comedy. Like it just all came out of me in a giant vomit. And they go, you were really good. And I was like, what? That was horrible. And when I was off stage, this kid goes on stage. His name was Adam. And then when he comes off stage, he sought me out and he goes, you were really funny. Where do you live? I said, I live in Verona. He goes, I live in Montclair. It was Adam Spiegelman, who was a producer on Jimmy Kimmel.
Of course.
And now, I'm not sure what he's doing now, but he's a very successful producer.
He's a producer on another show.
And he's a dear friend of mine, and he's a great guy. And he said to me, you know, on Saturday nights, there's an open mic in Montclair on Church Street called Something Different. We should hook up there. Do you need a ride? Because my older brother has a car. And I go, yeah. And he goes, and then another guy comes in, Dan Price, and goes, do you guys go to the Main Street Comedy Cafe in Hackensack? That's on Wednesday nights. Now, all of a sudden, there's like this group of 15, 16, 17-year-olds, like networking, like we're on the fucking 5th tee at Augusta, talking about like closing deals. But like all of a sudden, I knew why I never fit in with the demographic in high school, because they didn't exist. And I don't mean this as being bragging at all. I mean this just as semantics and as a fact. I was peerless. When you're a guy that's going to be a stand-up comic at 15, there is no one that has any idea how your batshit brain is operating. And your jokes are not funny to anyone because you're in history and people are trying to pass a test and pay attention and you're getting thrown out of classes. Suddenly, I'm in a basement in West Orange, New Jersey, and I'm surrounded by people my age going, well, you know, there's also that place in Manhattan. It's a magic place, but on Tuesdays they turn the room over to comics. We could all meet there. And I take like 14 numbers, and I immediately have a complete network of friends that want to do exactly what I want to do. And there's no cutthroat. Everybody wants to help each other. If you had your ear to the ground and found out about a room in the Palisades, New York, you told everybody, like, we got to get in. I'll call for you. You call for me. So that was the moment. The moment I knew I was never going to do anything else as long as I lived, I was asked to open for Sue Ryerson, who was a comic. And what happens is if you have a car in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or Connecticut, you get a lot of opening act work because no one in Manhattan drives. So they'll say, hey, man, we got this gig. It's a boathouse in Lake Apacong, New Jersey, and you pick up Sue Ryerson. She's the headliner, but she can't get there. There's no buses to go to Lake Apacong. It's the woods. It's where they do Deliverance movies. And they go, way to endear yourself to, you know, northern New Jersey, JJ. So I go pick up Sue Ryerson outside the Improv when it was in Manhattan. She's totally cool. She's nails, man. She's cool as hell. She confided in me that that she's gay. She's way out of the closet at this point, I would hope. Yeah. I think she was 60 with a secret. Yeah. And like begrudgingly taking dick. Like, all right, just to keep the lie going, put it in. And she like, for some reason confided in me. Like, you know, I'm gay, it's tough, and I did this. I changed my name because I don't want people to know. This. We get to the boathouse in Lake Apacong. I'm supposed to do 10 minutes. I go on stage. I do 10 minutes. Someone hands me a note. Sue's in the restroom, 15. That's all it says. And now me, I'm no dummy. I think that means do 15 minutes. Of course, that's what it meant. But like, I mean, this is all foreign. So you're in another dimension and a waitress comes up and hands you a note and you just think she's giving you her phone number. It says, Sue's in the bathroom, 15. So I don't have 15. But I just keep going and I started making fun of, like, there was some shitty boats. It was a boathouse. Yeah. And like, I go, who owns like such and such a boat? And some guy raised his hand and all his friends start laughing. I go, Like, do you like barnacles? Is there a reason? Like, why are the barnacles in a lake? Are you the guy that swims in the lake and yells shark? Are you like just stupid stuff, right?